Hello everyone, this is Yoan and welcome to a new tutorial. In today's episode, I would love to share the Woodland Backpack project. This is a lovely medium-sized backpack. It comes with a front zipper pocket, a zipper closure, also a couple of elasticated pockets, and a zipper pocket in the interior. This is a functional backpack, perfect for your adventures. This backpack will also fit a 13-inch laptop. Now, before we get started, let's hear from today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers thousands of inspiring classes from various topics, including graphic design, photography, arts and crafts, freelance entrepreneurship, and much more. I have just finished watching the Everyday Flowers Simple Stunning Arrangements for Any Occasion by Spencer Falls. In this class, Spencer shares simple, organic, and flexible approach to bring beauty in your home with flowers. I love the fact that he uses both flowers that were purchased from the market, also those that he got from foraging. So I went ahead and do my own floral arrangement, following the techniques that Spencer shared in this class, combining grocery store flowers and also some foraging around my backyard. It was such a fun and calming exercise, and it was really stimulating my creativity. Skillshare has classes to fit your schedule and skill level, whether you want to cherry pick different interests for the joy of learning, or perhaps you want to dive into more in-depth classes of certain topic. So if you are interested in learning and exploring with Skillshare, right now, the first 1,000 people who click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So what are you waiting for? Join now and enjoy your learning experience with Skillshare. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and without further ado, let's get started. Let's work on the front exterior pocket. So here I've got panel 1 or the upper panel. First, we're gonna apply the fusible woven interfacing to the top and bottom edges of panel 1 in order to stabilize the area when we're gonna install the zipper and the zipper panel. Now take the stabilizer or the heavier interfacing. I use light Decovil. Alternatively, you can use craft fuse or decor bond. So you want to fuse that right on the center between the fusible woven interfacing, just like so. This one is panel 2 or the lower panel. So you want to fuse the fusible woven interfacing only on the upper top part of the panel 2 and then followed with the stabilizer. Lay panel 2 right side up and then take your zipper. So we're going to use the purse size zipper, so it's about 1¼ inch wide, at least 12 inches long. So you want to lay the zipper right side down and then take panel 3 or the inner pocket piece and lay that right side down. Clip them in place and then sew with 3/8 inch of seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to turn these wrong sides together and then press the seams, both the exterior and the interior as well, and then top stitch. Now you want to take panel 1 or the upper top panel right side up, and if your fabric has directional print, you want to flip this upside down, just like that, since we're going to sew the bottom part. Now take the zipper and lay that right side down. Fold the bottom edge of the inner pocket piece towards the top, aligning the bottom edges with the zipper, just like so. Now go ahead and clip and then stitch this in place with 3/8 inch of seam allowance. And once you've done that, again, you want to press the seams and then top stitch. Now we're going to make a casing for the zipper so it will appear invisible. So you want to take a little section of fabric from the bottom of panel 1 and then fold that towards the seam line of the panel 2. So the folded edges of panel 1 should be sitting right by the top edges of panel 2, just like that. So it should be pretty intuitive at this point. So you want to go ahead and finger press the pleat. Once you're happy with it, grab your ruler and then you want to measure 3/4 inch from the folded edges And then you want to draw a straight line using disappearing fabric marker. And that's gonna be the seam line. So I'm gonna clip the side edges to hold the pleats. And then stitch right on that 3/4 inch line. When you sew, just make sure that you are sewing away from the zipper teeth, obviously, but still catching the zipper tape. So you should end up with something like this. Now let's move the zipper pull slightly towards the center. And then you want to sew the side edges down to the bottom to hold the pleat and the pocket in place. Sew with 1/8 inch of seam allowance. And there you go guys, the front exterior pocket is done. Trim off any excess zipper. Now trim off the top edges so that this will measure 13 inches tall. And there you go guys, the front exterior is done. For the back exterior, you want to cut a piece of rectangle 11 inch by 13 inch and then fuse the wrong side with fusible foam stabilizer. Of course, the foam stabilizer is cut a slight smaller so it won't get to the seam allowances. Now let's work on the backpack interior. So go ahead and prepare 2 identical rectangles, one for the front and one for the back. Next, we're gonna work on the front interior pocket. So prepare your pocket piece and fold this in half, right sides together of course, and then sew with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. Press the seams open and then you wanna turn this right side out. Press it one more time, make it nice and crisp. To create the elastic casing, you wanna go ahead and sew 1/2 inch down from the top edge. Cut a piece of elastic about 11 inches long. I'm using 1/4 inch wide elastic here. Now let's attach a safety pin to one of the end of the elastic, and then we're gonna thread the elastic through the casing using the safety pin as the guide. Now you wanna keep an eye to the other end of the elastic. When it reaches the starting point of the casing, you wanna stop threading and then stitch to secure this in place with about 1/8 inch of seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to continue threading, and as you got to the other end of the casing, you want to go ahead and stitch the edges to secure the elastic. And you should end up with something like this. Now take the front interior fabric and then lay the pocket piece on the right side about 4 inches down from the top. Secure the top edges of the pocket. So I'm just going to pop a couple of pins here. Now you want to mark the center point of this pocket, so I'm simply gonna use my ruler and measure 5.5 inch from the side edges. Or you can do this beforehand by simply folding your pocket in half and mark the center point. Now we're gonna mark the pleat lines at the bottom of the pocket, so go ahead and measure 2 inches from the outer edge and then put a little mark there. And you want to also measure 2 inches from the center point of the pocket. And then again, put a little mark. Now I'm going to start pleating with this line. So just grab like about 1/4 inch of fabric, not too much. And then pleat this towards the center, just like so. And then pin. Now let's go ahead and pleat this line. Just take a little bit of fabric so that the side edges of the pocket will be aligned with the interior panel. And then go ahead and pin. Now we're gonna work the same to the opposite side. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure 2 inches from the center point, also 2 inches from the side edges, and then work on the pleats the same way. Now let's align the side edges of the pocket to the side edges of the main fabric, and then pin. And then sew right on the center to divide the pocket into 2, also the sides and the bottom with 1/8 inch of seam allowance. Now let's work on the zipper pocket. So prepare your pocket panel, fuse the wrong side with a little bit of fusible woven interfacing to stabilize the template area. On the wrong side of the back interior, you want to also apply a little bit of fusible woven interfacing about a couple of inches down from the top edge. For the zipper template, you want to draw a 7 inch by 3/8 inch of rectangle about 1.5 inch down from the top edge. Now you want to position the pocket panel on the right side of the interior panel, about 1.5 inch down from the top. Now pop a couple of pins to secure them in place, and then stitch right on the outer line of the template. And once you've done that, go ahead and install the zipper just like the usual method. I'm pretty sure most of you already know how to do this by heart by now. And here I've already installed my pocket. Now we're gonna work on the straps and the handle and the D-ring tabs. For the D-ring tabs, you wanna cut 2 pieces of webbing, 2.5 inch long each. So let's go ahead and feed the webbing through the D-ring, just like so. And then you wanna position this about 1 inch up from the bottom edge. And repeat the same to the opposite side. And once you've done that, you want to go ahead and stitch this in place with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Alright, for the little loop handle, you want to cut your webbing 8 inches long and then position that right on the top center of the back exterior, about 1 inch distance on the center. For the straps, you want to cut 2 42 inches long webbing, position that on the top edge about 2.5 inch from the side edges, and then clip. Repeat the same to the second strap on the opposite side, and then stitch this in place with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. And then we're going to install the adjustable strap slider. So hold your slider right side up and then feed the end of the strap from the wrong side towards the right side and back to the wrong side. And always make sure that your strap isn't twisted. Now you want to feed the end of the strap through the D-ring from the right side towards the wrong side. Next, we're going to slide the end of the strap through the wrong side of this sliding bar. So you want to do this from the upper top towards the bottom. So you want to have about a couple of inches of clearance there. Grab the end of the strap and then fold that towards the wrong side, about 1/2 inch. And then grab the strap that is sitting at the back, this one here, just like that. And then stitch with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. So you want to sew back and forth a few times to add extra bond to your strap. So you want to repeat the same to the other strap, and you should end up with something like this. Now take the back interior piece, the one with the zipper pocket, and lay that wrong side up. Now take the back exterior and lay that wrong side down, aligning all the edges of course. Clip them in place, and then you want to sew all around with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to repeat the same to the front exterior and the front interior. So go ahead and lay them wrong sides together and then clip and then sew with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Next, we're going to work on the zipper closure. So you will need a double pull zipper measuring at least 28 inches. Now let's prepare the zipper panels. The smaller panels are panel 1. So you want to cut 1 each from the exterior and from the interior fabric as well. Now the larger panels are panel 2. Also, you want to cut 1 each from the exterior and the interior fabric. Fuse the wrong side of the exterior panels with some fusible woven interfacing. As usual, I like to cut my interfacing smaller to minimize the bulk. When you apply the interfacing, you want to make sure to fuse the edges where the zipper is going to be stitched. This way it will be nice and crisp around the zipper tape. Lay panel 1 right side up with the interface edges facing up, and then lay the zipper right side down. Now take the interior panel and lay that right side down. Now you may secure this in place with some sewing clips, or you can use basting tape by applying on the edges of the zipper tape. I'll show that to you later when we are going to attach the panel 2. Once everything is secured, go ahead and sew with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Now let's turn these wrong sides together and then press the seams, both the exterior and the interior as well, and then top stitch. Now take panel 2 and lay that right side up. Now this time I'm going to use basting tape to do the zipper sandwich, which I found much more practical and efficient given the length of the panels. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply the basting tape on the top edges and then peel the top layer off. Now take the zipper and lay that right side down. Press the edges of the zipper tape so that it will stick onto the basting tape. Now let's apply some basting tape to the edges of this zipper tape. Now lay the interior panel right side down. Again, you want to press the edges so that the fabric will be sticking to the basting tape. And then sew with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Now you want to turn these wrong sides together, press the seams, and then top stitch. Once you've done that, you want to stitch along the edges of panel 2 to temporarily hold the fabrics together. Now, following the exact same method that I showed you for the front zipper pocket, you want to go ahead and overlap panel 2 to enclose the zipper teeth. Since this is such a long zipper panel, I'm going to use some pins to secure the fold. So the folded edges should be sitting right by the seams of panel 1, obviously. Once everything is secured, go ahead and measure 3/4 of an inch from the folded edges. Again, you want to use disappearing fabric marker to mark the stitch line, and then go ahead and sew to secure the overlap. Now you want to trim off the edges of panel 2 so that your zipper panel will measure 3.5 inch wide. Now stitch this all around with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Alright, so our zipper panel is done and ready to go. Before we move on to the next step, we're gonna determine the center point of this panel. So let's fold this in half and then mark the center point with fabric marker. So you wanna do that on both sides, on both the exterior and the interior as well. Repeat the same to the opposite side. Now let's prepare the bottom panel. So you want to cut 1 each from the exterior and the interior fabric. Fuse the wrong side of the exterior fabric with fusible woven interfacing. Next, we're going to mark the center point. So again, we're going to fold the fabric in half and mark the center point on both sides. Now lay the interior bottom panel right side up. And then lay the zipper panel wrong side down, aligning one of the short edges. Either side is fine. Now take the bottom exterior and lay that right side down. Clip them in place and then sew with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Now you want to turn these wrong sides together, just like that. And then you may finger press the seams a little bit and then top stitch. And once you've done that, you want to bring the short edges of the bottom exterior towards the edges of the zipper panel, right sides together, and then bring the edges of the interior towards the edges of the zipper panel, with the right side facing the interior of the zipper panel, just like so. Now go ahead and clip them in place and then sew with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Now let's turn this to the right side and then finger press the seams and top stitch. Now sew the side edges of the bottom panels with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance to hold them together. Alright, so you should end up with a fabric loop just like this. So the circumference of this fabric loop should be about 48 inches, which is the same as the perimeter of your main fabric panels. So we're gonna attach the back exterior to this side of the zipper with the wider panel, and this side of the zipper with smaller panel, we're gonna attach the front exterior. Now let's assemble the back. First, we're gonna mark the top and the bottom center point of the front panel. And then on the side edges, you wanna measure 8 inches down from the top and put a little mark there. Repeat the same to the opposite side, of course. Do the same to the back panel as well. So here I've already attached my back panel, so I'm going to show you how to attach the front panel, which is going to be the same procedure. So you want to turn the zipper panel inside out, and you want to unzip the zipper at least halfway at this point. Now take the front panel with the exterior facing down, just like so. Now let's go ahead and match the center point of the top and the bottom as well. And then you want to match the 8-inch point with the seams right here at the end of the zipper, and then clip. Now repeat the same to the opposite side, again matching the 8-inch point with the seams where the zipper ends. So these 4 points are pretty much non-negotiable. Now let's go ahead and clip the rest of this. Once everything is secured, go ahead and sew all around with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. So you want to start sewing somewhere in the middle of the side edges, going towards the top. Now as you get to the corner, this is where it's gonna get a little finicky, but it is pretty straightforward. So you want to go ahead and slow down and then stop 1/4 inch before the edges. Keep your needle down and then raise the presser foot and then carefully pivot your fabric. Meanwhile, you want to realign your fabric, try to straighten it up again because it's easy to get a little messed up around the corner. Now it may be easier if before you get to the corner to clip the edges of the zipper panel a little bit. About 1/8 inch. Don't overdo it though. This way the fabric will be relaxed and it will be easier to lay this flat as you get to the corner. Again, we're gonna stop 1/4 inch before the edge and then carefully pivot the fabric and then continue stitching. Alright, so here I've already sewn my front panel and this is how the corners look on the right side. Pretty good. Alright, so we're gonna finish this backpack by binding the raw edges. So here I'm using a pre-made bias tape. It's a single fold 1/2 inch wide. So let's go ahead and start sewing. So I'm aligning the edges of the bias tape with the edges of my fabric. So I'm simply following the crease of my bias tape, which is a little less than 1/4 inch. So you want to make sure that you are not stitching more than 1/4 inch or the existing seam line, because that will show on the right side of your backpack. And I do the usual mitered corner. So I finished my binding with hand stitching, performing slip stitches. I found this method to be much easier than trying to do this with machine, since you have more control over the binding in the fabric. Now when you pick the fabric with the needle, just make sure that you only catch the interior fabric, so it will not show on the right side of your backpack. Alright, so once you finish your binding, your backpack is pretty much done. Now you can turn this inside out, poke the corners, and voila, you've got yourself a new backpack.